today on Light of the Word with Pastor Ray.
He's giving us is the opportunity to separate from the world, attach to Him, and connect with Him, because when you fast, you will find yourself, oh, that's right, I'm fasting because I'm going too fast. That's what I always say. I'm going too fast. I need to slow down, and by breaking my bodily cry, I can just come into this place. You know what, Lord? I'm going to separate this one special time. Maybe it's a day, maybe it's 3 days, maybe it's just one meal.
Open your heart to us, Lord, so we can know your word. We come before you, Jesus. Speak to our hearts as we discover your love for us. How wide, how deep, how far. Pour into us so we can learn to follow. One surrender at a time. You have made the way for us to know you, a path that's straight and right. By the light of the word.
Fasting is a biblical opportunity to slow down and center ourselves on who really matters, Jesus. When life gets crazy and overwhelming, we can deny ourselves of things so that we can receive something better. Fasting is an amazing and powerful discipline that God has shown us to focus on Him. In today's message, Pastor Ray will encourage you to ask God what you may be idolizing over Him. Maybe you need a break from social media, unhealthy habits, or even certain foods. Well, let's join Pastor Ray in the book of Genesis chapter 12 for today's edition of Light of the Word.
The greatest disciple of all on this earth was Jesus, and it was, I do the will of the Father, and he goes and he spends time with the Lord. As we see, when the disciples would come to him, they didn't say, hey, teach us how to raise the dead. Hey, teach us how to cast out demons. They asked one question of the disciples that we read, and they said, Lord, teach us to pray. They saw power of Jesus was through this connection of prayer. So Jesus, as the submitted Son, prayed to the Father, and he teaches us, our Father, who art in heaven, as we see this Lord's Prayer. And I just like Luke 18:1. Men ought always to pray and not faint. That's one of my scriptures memories. Men ought always to pray and not faint. Ray, you can't faint on prayer. You can't make it secondary. So at the beginning of the week, the name of the person I will prayerfully intercede for this week is, who might you pray for this week? I love it because it becomes specific and narrow. I can pray for, Lord, bless the people of California. We should. But maybe there's a place where I sit here and I'm just quiet before the Lord, and you can do your weekly prep any day. You don't have to wait till Wednesday, of course. But I say, you know what, Lord, this week, my prayer for the next 7 days is on. And I write that name down. And every morning when I look over at this sheet, I'm reminded, that's right, I committed to pray for the name that I put in every day this week. And then in the prayer sheet, there's a place for answered prayer, because there's going to be times where, wow, the prayer and the answer came. The discipline of evangelism, the very heart of God, is seeking and saving that which is lost. Romans 10:15, how shall they preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the gospel of peace, who bring glad tidings of good things. And so the weekly beginning, the name of the person I feel led to share Jesus with this week. It just might be that person that's the 7-Eleven counter, because that's where you get your coffee every morning. Or it might just be, you know what, Lord, give me the boldness. I'm going to finally reach out to that old college friend, or that you fill in the blank. And so you're asking the Lord, put this on my heart, and then bring me the power to do it, because you know what? You know what comes down to us to lead someone to Christ? Do you know what it is? Nothing. All these things are nothing. And therefore, we don't have to burden and go, I can't do these. Unless the Lord draws them, they will never. There's none righteous, no, not one. There's none that seek after God. There's nothing that I can do, but everything you can do. Discipleship of generosity, and the next one is fasting. And in both of them, what it is, it detaches us from the world and attaches us to the Lord. Abram's the great example. He's going to separate from what was he trusted in. And here we get this opportunity every week. We ask, the person or ministry I plan to generously support this week? There's a place, you know what, Lord? I trust you that I can support and generously give. And when I look at this one, I think of myself, the Lord saying, and we say, wait, when? As you did it on Matthew 25, when you did it unto me, you did it unto the least. Wait, when were you in prison? When were you naked? When were you hungry? When were you cold? And there's a place that I can go, wow, this is my opportunity every week, literally every day, to be this great step of faith, and then to be in this place. You know what? I can go minister to this person who's in need. I can go support these people who need to hear the gospel or need to help support that ministry. And it's the same with fasting, as Jesus would say in Matthew 17. Hey, kind of like this doesn't come out without much fasting and prayer. It's still nothing on us, but what he's giving us is the opportunity to separate from the world, attach to him, and connect with him, because when you fast, you will find yourself, oh, that's right, I'm fasting because I'm going too fast. That's what I always say. I'm going too fast. I need to slow down, and by breaking my bodily cry, I can just come into this place. You know what, Lord? I'm going to separate this one special time. Maybe it's a day. Maybe it's 3 days. Maybe it's just one meal. You know what I find one of the greatest fasts, and probably so much equally so than it was 25, 30 years ago? There's a fasting from this thing. That's what they call it. This is what they call it out in Silicon Valley, the thing. Google, Meta, Facebook, the likes, the thing. I think here's a place where we go, you know what? I just spend way too much time on this social media. I spend way too much time finding out what's going on Facebook. I spend way too much time finding out who's going to be, the next coach or whatever, who's going to win. And there's just a place, you know what, Lord? I'm just going to take a day off from it. And then you know what you do? You have to replace it. You replace it with, instead I'm going to listen to an audio book, or I'm going to Christian audio book, or I'm going to listen to a sermon, or I'm just going to sit and be quiet. And the other discipline of service, John 13, Jesus rose from the supper, laid aside his garment, took a towel, and girded himself. We know that great example, serving as my opportunity to be an image bearer. I get to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And so the question at the beginning of the week, as a disciple, these are all, and we'll see these things throughout all of our studies, in my service to the Lord this week, I plan to accomplish. What am I going to serve? Where am I going to serve? Lord, lead me to where you want me to serve. The discipline of exercise, because man is body, spirit, and soul, 1 Thessalonians 5:23. I think there's just a place where God's like, hey, you just need to go to bed. Diet, exercise, rest, it's all the same part. Hey, you know what? The staying up till midnight, that's here and there, that's one thing, but the continualness of it, and all these things, and there's just a place. My exercise goals for this week are, because you know what, Lord? I want this body to be all that it can be within limit, right? So that I might serve you. And so I like it because it's easy to forget that. Hebrews 10:24, we know that the discipline of discipleship is fellowship, and this is how we keep each other strong. It's why we come here, so we can encourage one another. The names of the person I plan on spending time with this week are, it might not just be at the church, it might be give them a call, hey, how about a bite to eat together? The discipline as a disciple to worship, and here we see the life of Abraham. We saw Noah get off the ark, build an altar. Here we see Abraham come into the land, build an altar. Doesn't matter who's around, because he's worthy to be worshiped. John 4, I love it. 23, but the hour is coming, and now is, when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father is seeking such to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. And so the weekly beginning, I will set aside time on this date to enjoy intimate fellowship with Jesus. There's just something that will wash away the world, and it's worship. When I just sit, and I was like, I'm going to block out all these cares of the world, all these things that I have to do, and I'm just going to worship you. And it's easy enough to pick up any scripture that you're in. When you're reading through, you'll find something that just speaks, and we just go, Lord, you're worthy. Lord, you are the King of glory. Lord, you're the undefeated. Me and Camden had a joy this morning saying, we have an undefeated champion. His name is Jesus Christ, and he rules and reigns, and he's never going to lose. And we were just celebrating that as we don't get wrapped up in the cares of the world. And the daily discipleship reading. I like how he puts this. Spurgeon would say, the Prince of Preacher, visit many good books, but live in the Bible. The Bible is the core that we live in, but we know that Hebrews 12:1, therefore, as we also, since are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares, and let us run with endurance the race that we got all these great men and women who've gone before. Man, you want to be blessed, read Hind's Feet on High Places. You want to be blessed, read the story of Corrie ten Boom. You want to be blessed, read Pilgrim's Progress. These are people, and the list goes on and on. We have a list on our website for the Bible College that are just great books for us to read. But the question is, the inspirational Christian book I will begin reading this week, because while I was reading the book just yesterday, and I was like, oh, this just moves my heart. Nothing to do with today's message, but it just ministered to me of what that man went through in his ministry, and it speaks to me. And then the daily discipleship, and I believe this is my last point here, is encouragement. Oh, the power of encouragement in another. Do you realize the power that you have in a simple, hey, I'm just thinking of you. I just want you to know, you're a treasure. Hey, I just want you to know this, that God's going to use you. Hey, I just want you to know this, God sees you. And it's amazing the timely delivery, because God's speaking to you because you're spending time with him of, you man, that person spoke. That was the word that I needed, because we never know when someone's on their last moment where they go, I just got to give up. I just got to quit. The person I will contact to encourage this week. Acts 4:36. I love this man. And Hoseas, who was also named Barnabas by the apostles, which is translated son of encouragement. Man, that's a man to be an example. Wow, what an encouragement that's what people knew you as. So that's what it looks like. Subscribe there, and it'll come to your email free, no strings attached to it. Well, we close with, and it sets us up just reading through verse 10. Let's just read all the way through it, and then I'll pick some points, and then we'll close in prayer. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to dwell there, for the famine was severe in the land. And it came to pass, when he was close to entering Egypt, that he said to Sarai his wife, indeed, I know that you are a woman of beautiful countenance. Therefore it will happen, when the Egyptians see you, that they will say, this is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will let you live. Please say you are my sister, that it may be well with me for your sake, and that I may live because of you. So it was that Abram came into Egypt, that the Egyptians, just as he said, saw the woman, that she was very beautiful. The princes of Pharaoh also saw her and commended her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house. Man, just a moment. Think of Sarah. What is this like for her? Here, into the harem you go. And there's a time where you go into the harem, and then there's, as we read the book of Esther and these things, there's a time of preparation and these things before she would come to the king. But this is what she knows her future holds. And this is what her husband, the father of faith, just did. But the Lord plagued. Verse 16, he treated Abraham well for her sake. He had sheep, oxen, male donkeys, male and female servants, female donkeys, and camels. They're making a deal. You get this? Abraham and the king are making a deal. Hey, I'm going to enrich you because this is your sister. You know, I'm bringing her into my harem. Me and you are friends now. It's kind of like an alliance that's being here. And he's going, the father of faith. You understand, we're reading the father of faith is doing this. But the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because Sarah, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, what is this you've done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister? might have taken her as my wife. Now, therefore, here's your wife. Take her and go your way. So Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had. A couple things here, Christian. The father of faith had a famine in his life. Don't think that you won't come into a famine. God will bring famines to prove something out, to show something sometimes that's in us, or sometimes the famine is just to bring us to a place. Well, where is my faith? Where does my faith begin? And I need to say this for everyone, because I think everyone here at some point, maybe it's this year, maybe it's this week, maybe it's today before it's over, you're going to face a famine. Listen, don't let fear drive you into your decision of how you're going to respond to this. Don't let fear drive you into an Egypt. But listen, don't let fear in the midst of a famine keep you in the place that God wants you to leave. And there's many people, they're in a famine and they are filled with so much fear that they can't get up and they can't leave, even though they know that God's called them out of it. What a pathetic picture that we have. And God does this, and that's why I'm so thankful we do chapter by chapter, because we could then go focus on this next week, and we would have spent time talking about Sarah's great obedience, and that's great. We would have talked about Abraham and his lack of faith, and that would be good. But we're reading the context of the outline we just seen. Abraham receives the promise of God based on what? Nothing. Abraham responds to the promise of God, and then we end here that Abraham retreats from the promise of God, even the great men and women of faith. But here's the chief characteristic of righteousness. The disciple of Jesus Christ returns. I'll say it for us as a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Say it for anyone listening on the podcast, radio, and the various means. If you have retreated from the promise of God, you've made a profession that Jesus Christ is Lord, but you find yourself in Egypt and you've never left, and you're still living the way the world of Egypt or the Ur of the Chaldeans is, I must challenge you to ask and examine yourself, am I a disciple of Jesus Christ? Because the chief characteristic of Abraham, the chief characteristic of David, and all the other greats that we will read of is righteousness, and they return to the Lord. The righteous man may fall 7 times and rise again, but the wicked shall fall by calamity. We'll give it this. Abram's going to return. So I close with, because I know I hit my mark, what did Abraham do to get out of this mess that he put himself in? Nothing. What did Sarah do to get herself protected in this mess that her husband, that she agreed to, another part of the story, what did she do? Nothing. And here's what faith is, disciple and follower of God. Faith begins where I end. If Abraham or Sarah would have tried to figure out some workaround, some scheme, whatever it may be, it would have ended in disaster. Do you understand that the father of faith, what he just did? He's just been given the promise to be made a great nation. Through the great nation, the Messiah will come. Genesis 3, the seed that will be born to the woman who will redeem mankind from the curse. He just put his wife into a harem that could have totally destroyed the promise of God. And I'm just sit here and go, and there he was, that he could do nothing. And that's where we come to the greatest place. I put myself in this place. There's nothing I can do, but it's everything you can do. So, Father, I'm going to ask you. Asking, praying, that's not our works. It's us coming to faith going, there's nothing that I can do to change this. And God protected her all this period of time that she wasn't touched. God protects Abraham that he wasn't killed. Horrible witness. We'll read that his son's going to follow the same suit, and we might be forgiven, but the consequences remained as the world watched. But here God gives this great grace, and he says, get out. And they start their march back to where they're supposed to be, back where we pick up in Genesis 13, where God will then speak to him again what he should have been doing rather than being in Egypt. But wow. Bet you that was a long ride home. Imagine that ride side by side. I'm sure there's a bunch of servants looking, going, Father of faith. So, Father, I do bless you and I thank you that you've given us these promises. And I am so thankful, Lord, that as we look at these things, what is it that puts upon us? Nothing. I am so thankful, Lord, for a study on nothing. And I just pray for myself. I pray for all of us. There is nothing that we can do to make ourselves righteous. It's everything that you would do for us. And Lord, I am so thankful for the place of nothing, that I just have the freedom that you show up and that you do what I can't do. My faith begins at nothing. And that is where the strength of the discipleship comes in, knowing that you're the God that can do anything, everything, and all things. So give us that faith, Lord, as we become focused and just drill in to be disciples, looking to you and all that you can do and celebrating the joy of the promise that you've given us. And Lord, if nothing is what we have to do, and it's everything that you would do, then we can all leave here today in this one surety. Romans 8, there is nothing that can separate us from the love of God. Nothing. Thank you for a study on nothing. Bless your people, I pray, in your name. Amen.
You have made the way for us to know you, a path that's straight and bright. By the light of the word.
You've been listening to Light of the Word. One of my favorite characters in the Bible is Joseph. What a man of upstanding character and perseverance. He endured many false accusations and was tested in multiple ways, but he passed with flying colors. We're not just talking about his coat of many colors. Although he received this from his father, Joseph's strength of character was far richer in color than any piece of clothing. Joseph was hated by his brothers, betrayed and brought low, as he was sold as a slave. But throughout his life, he kept being brought low, only to be raised up into a position of authority or leadership. Have you ever considered that this might be a refining process that God has in mind for you too? Ultimately, it was through this roller coaster of situations that God used Joseph to help rescue his entire family from famine and death. Next time you're in a valley, questioning what God is doing, look to the story of Joseph, reminding yourself that God has an interesting way of lifting people up who seek to honor Him in their lives. To find out more encouraging content from the book of Genesis, you'll find it at lightoftheword.info. We come to you from Calvary Chapel of Anne Arundel County in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Join us next time for Light of the Word, illuminating the heart of God.
You have made